Welcome to the Pro Zone. I'm Matt Roberts. So when you enter the transfer portal, you give up your scholarship. Simple. You resign that scholarship, and that's what has to be done. So now you have 1,983 kids who are hoping to get picked up by colleges. They're hoping to. I mean, 33% of them have already been picked up, but that's still leaving a lot of kids who have not been picked up and may not get picked up by colleges off of the portal. Will the schools honor the scholarships when they come back? I don't know. They don't have to. That's the whole thing. Will they? I don't know. I just don't know. I don't have the answer to that question. I hope they do, but if they don't, it might teach the kids a lesson. Here's the problem is, were the kids given instructions on how to do this? Did the compliance officer explain it to them? Is that their job to do that? Hey, by the way, if you do this, you get up your scholarship. I don't know. Or is it a bunch of young kids who just want that instant gratification? They're used to getting everything their way. So it's like, I can swipe left or swipe right to pick who I want to go out with. I can go online and I can find whatever video I want to watch and listen to whatever kind of music I want to watch. I also have grown up watching basketball players like LeBron James and other players who, specifically James, who changes teams all the time just to get what he wants, to get his best fit, to get his championship, to play along his friends, whatever it is. They see that happen in the NBA and in professional sports. And with transfer portal, I can imagine they'd think, well, if they could do it, then I could do it, because those are their idols. That's who they model themselves after. So instead of establishing loyalty with a team and staying there, then these athletes, they are just leaving. Now, some of them may have really good reasons, but other ones maybe not. And when you have 1,983 kids who have left and jumped at the chance to transfer schools, that's weird. That's telling you that there's something going on with these kids, and they're just kind of like thinking it's the newest thing you can do. I mean, I'm not happy where I am, so I'm just going to transfer. I don't like it here for whatever reason. I'm homesick, or I want to go to a different school, or my friends are going here, or I think that school is cool, or whatever the reason, they're transferring. I mean, Alabama just had 9 guys enter the portal. They lost their championship game, and 9 players left the team all at the same time. Is this what we're going to get into now? We're going to have kids just leaving the teams because they didn't get a win, they didn't get their way? I don't understand, but that's what's going on with the portal right now. It's the Wild West, man. These kids can do whatever the hell they want, and they're just leaving in force. And the NCAA, who enforces the rules, have now said, again, because of the litigation, right? They said, you know what? We're going to wash our hands of it. Do what you want to do. Now, what does that do? Well, what you have right now is you have the college coaches are losing their minds. Some of them are loving it. Some of them love it. Like Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. Deion Sanders loves it because he even said, he came up on Twitter and he said, X, he had a video that was posted up there that said, I'm going to fill my team with athletes from the portal. If I have, for example, 12 scholarships, I'm going to fill 8 of them with athletes from the portal. I want a post-grad kid. I want a senior. I want someone who has experience, and then fill the need for now, and then fill in the gaps, the other 4 scholarships, with high school kids. Now think about it from a coach's perspective. If you're a coach and you have the ability to recruit a kid through the transfer portal, and the kid's a sophomore, they've used a year of eligibility, sure, because they played as a freshman, right? But that gives them 3 years of eligibility left. Their credits transfer over because they're academically qualified already. Now you don't have to pay as much money to them in a scholarship because they don't have as many credits left over. So you're saving money in scholarships for that kid, right? you also get a kid who has more experience. You don't have to train them as hard. You don't have to get them in shape. You don't have to waste time on a red shirt because you can get a kid to come right in. And he's already kind of red-shirted for a year at another school. He lost a year of eligibility, but he kind of trained there already and used those resources. And if I'm a coach, well, that makes some sense. Do I want to spend the money on a 4-year freshman prospect who may or may not pan out, who I have to develop as a project? Or do I get a kid who's more experienced and then fill in the needs on my team that will help me now? I can see where the coaches are coming from in that respect. But it screws the high school kids, because now the high school kids don't get the deals out of high school because they're being passed over, especially this year. I mean, this is supposed to be for the year 2023, 2024, okay? There's no guarantee that it's going to end this year. According to the NCAA legal, they said, well, next year it's going to go back to normal. Is it? I don't know that, because how long is this injunction going to be held, maintained? How long is it going to be tied up in litigation? Are they going to settle this thing? How quickly are they working towards settling it? Who knows? I have no idea. And they don't have any idea. They're not going to tell me. So it could go on for a long time. I hope it doesn't. But, I mean, they gave them a 1-year pass. I mean, they could always just say, screw it, and then next year, that's it. And then, if the injunction's still happening, they can just say, well, everyone gets screwed then. Every other sport gets screwed because of what football's doing. But the funny part is the coaches that are really upset about this whole thing, who don't like it. Nick Saban's like, oh, it's just Wild West. It's crazy. This transfer portal is absolutely nuts. And yeah, it is nuts. It's absolute chaos. You're losing a lot of players, and they're moving on, and you can't maintain a roster because they're just leaving just on a whim whenever they want to. Well, you're the schools that voted for the legislation, man. You guys set the bylaws. That's where the NCAA is kind of I'm not going to side with the NCAA because the NCAA made a lot of mistakes ahead of time. The NCAA should have seen this coming. It should have really seen this coming. I remember I talked to the NCAA legal back in March of last year. And they said, well, this is why we're bringing a litigator in, a guy who understands litigation and legislation, or a legislator in to handle our organization, because there's so much legislation that's coming down the pipe that's causing a lot of these things to happen. That was more in reference of name, image, and likeness, which was caused by legislation, but same as transfer portal. The states got involved, caused name, image, and likeness to happen. The states got involved, and they're causing transfer portal to happen. That's a problem. It's a hot mess across the board. It really is a hot mess. And these kids that the transfer portal in itself can be used to cheat. But how? How could it be used to cheat? If you're a coach, okay, and you're trying to recruit a kid, say you're coach for Auburn, not picking on Auburn, just using Auburn as an example. Say you're a coach for Auburn, and you're recruiting a kid who you want him to come to your team, but you're filling in gaps through the portal. And you're like, you know what? I want to bring you in now, but I really don't have the space for you right now at a high school, right? So here's what I want you to do. Who else is talking to you? And he can say, well, I'm being talked to by Georgia and I'm being talked to by West Virginia. He says, okay, go to West Virginia or wherever you want to go for a year. If you really want to play here, you go there for a year, and then I will pick you up off of the portal after your freshman year. He doesn't have to communicate with him after that. He's already set the standard. He said, this is what we're going to do. And the plan is in effect. So now you have a player who could go to West Virginia or wherever, play for 1 year, either redshirt for a year there, which doesn't make him lose any eligibility, or play for his freshman year, and then transfer. And they transfer into to Auburn, and Auburn's good to go. And they pick up a player with 1 more year of experience, 1 less year of academic cost and for his scholarship, all right? It can be done. So transfer portal might sound cool, but it's also a very easy way to cheat. There are bigger problems with this than them beyond what's happening this year. Much bigger problems than just this year's chaos. So how do you fix it? How do you fix the transfer portal, the whole transfer system? Well, I mean, look at the numbers of it. You have the window is from the 4th to the 2nd, okay? And like I said, the college coaches are like, this is perfect because I can get my players in that window. I can get all these veteran players in while I'm recruiting high school kids, but then I can get them in place of high school kids, and then I can, recruit what I need to fill in the gaps, right? So you have that window December 4th through January 2nd of this year. That screws up a lot of teams because a lot of guys transferred before a bowl game. They're going to go to a bowl game, and it's a whole nother show. The bowl system's out of control. Now, NCAA has new rules coming up, 2024-25 season and 25-26. They have new rules coming up for the bowl championship series, which I kind of like better. But back in the day, there were a handful, maybe 11 or so, really good bowls. You had Cotton Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Peach Bowl, Rose Bowl, Orange Bowl. You had a couple, the really big ones. And all those bowls meant something. You had, a number of them around New Year's Day, and they meant a lot. There are like 43 bowls now. Like everybody has a bowl. I mean, the Pop-Tart Bowl, for crying out loud. They literally had a Pop-Tart Bowl. And it's watered down the value of the bowl games. So now players, they're like, well, what's the point? If I'm not in the national championship and I'm just in a silly bowl game, then what's the point of actually competing in the bowl game? And then they're opting out and they're entering the transfer portal before the bowl game. So now you're decimating your team. And I mean, it comes back down to loyalty. Loyalty and selfishness. It's just selfish. If you're leaving a team, you signed a contract with the school. And forget the legality of an actual contract. I mean, just that's already there. But look at your personal pride and respect toward a team. You have committed yourself to a team. You said, I'm going to be part of this team through thick or thin. And I'm going to help this team get better. And I'm going to play. And I'm not going to quit on you. Okay? Now, some will say, well, the coaches will replace you in a second. Yeah, that's true. They can replace you in a second if you're not performing well enough. That's the difference. If you're in there and you're not performing well, and they've recruited you for a certain value that you have, okay, the 5-star, 4-star, 3-star athlete rating system, which another different show altogether, a small one, but that's a ridiculous rating system. That's just a bunch of sports writers making their opinions. ESPN, 24/7 Sports and Rivals. I'll tell you stories about that later in another episode. So anyway, if you're not living up to your value, the perceived value for which they recruited you, then they're going to replace you with someone who's going to perform. That's your responsibility. Just because you didn't perform well, or just because you got recruited, doesn't mean that you can't perform well. You were recruited for a reason. It's like when you're hired for a job. You're hired for a job for a reason, to do and accomplish certain goals, okay? If you didn't accomplish those goals and you're not living up to your expectations or their expectations of you, they're going to get someone who can. So you have to do your part. But if you're doing your part and there's no reason for you to leave, then why leave? Why would you bail out on your team before a bowl game? Well, part of that problem is the date of the transfer portal. You're giving these kids the window from December 4th to January 2nd. Well, that's where all the bowl games are happening, right? So what options do they have? I'm not excusing them doing that. You have to maintain loyalty, and you have to be, have some character. I mean, that's a big part of being an adult, is having character and committing to something. But I'm not exonerating them from that. The thing is if I'm the NCAA, if your team does not make it to a bowl game or a championship series game, right? Then I would say the portal opens for those kids now. If your team does qualify, then you have to play the bowl, and then your portal opens after the bowl game is done. That should be the rule. Now, people will say, "Well, doesn't that gives an unfair advantage to those kids whose teams didn't win?" And it doesn't matter, because even though you enter the portal doesn't mean you're going to be picked up right away. You could be in the transfer portal for a very long time, guys. I mean, you're not going to get picked up first day, first month. It could be a few months. You could never get picked up. So if you're that good and you enter the portal, props. But the real good players, if they decide to enter the portal after the bowl, the teams are going to wait and see if they become available. You know, if they express their interest on Twitter, I intend to enter the portal after the championship, now a coach is going to say, you know what? I'm going to sit back and wait for this kid. This kid's a stud. He's a junior. He's, throws for 3,000 yards. Okay, I'm going to wait for this kid. So those are one of the options I think that the NCAA should enact, or the member schools should pass in the bylaws. And it should be something like that, because it's either that or move everything after all the bowl games are done, and then that gives them the whole month of January to be taken off the portal. Because you're still recruiting. Your colleges can still focus on their kids in December that they want to get recruited, and then do the heavy bulk of the work in January anyway. So they can get that all squared away in January along with portal stuff. And then they can have their signing day in February 2nd. And honestly, signing day is just a date. You can sign kids after, but most of the teams like to get it done February 2nd. That's usually when it's all done. That's like the cleanup point of it. But that's what I think should be done. Transferring once is transferring once, but this right now it's chaos. It's just mass chaos in what they've done, and they're decimating teams. And you should, and also with the scholarships, I think. Your scholarship, again, you should have it until July 1st. The school has until July 1st to renew your scholarship, okay? It should be like free agency in the NFL, if you're going to do it this way. At the end of your scholarship, when the window's coming, there's a window, right? You're done the football season, and you can say, hey, you know what? We're not going to extend your contract. Hey, we're going to leave. Or I can opt out. I'm not going to take my scholarship, and I'm going to enter the portal. It's kind of what's happening now, but you have to do it before July. Schools can't string a player along until July. They have to make their commitments early, I believe, if they don't do so already. So it's got to be fair on both sides. But the big part of it is, and I'm going to pick on the kids for this, is you can't just leave a team whenever you want to leave a team. The problem you have in a lot of cases, though, there are coaches out there who will say a lot of stuff to you. They'll say a lot of stuff to you. I've had it said to me. I've had great things said to me when I was being recruited. You'll get stuff like, we're going to build the offense around you, and you're going to start right away, and you're going to be an integral part of the team, and all that great stuff. And then you get there, and all of a sudden you're like, whoops, I'm not really all that. It's a lot worse than I thought it was going to be, or I'm not that high of a profile guy, or I'm riding the pine for a while. It happens. Some people don't like the competition when they get there. It's just how it is. So it's fine. This is what coaches say, but you can't overvalue yourself going in. You have to understand that it is a business. It is a business. When you get into college, I've been telling kids for this for years. And I've had parents arguing with me. I've had athletic directors arguing with me, saying, no, the colleges, if they make a commitment to a kid, it's set in stone. No, it's not. A verbal commitment is a verbal commitment. We'll have a whole nother episode on that. Okay? But it is. It's a verbal commitment. A verbal commitment means nothing. The NCAA legal even says, we do not recognize verbal commitments. Quote, we do not recognize verbal commitments in the NCAA. Meaning, they won't even acknowledge them because they don't exist in the legal term. They're a verbal commitment. They're saying, yeah, sure, I'll bring you on board. We want you to play for us. And it's not the truth. The school can pull. Will they? No, not likely. But could they? Oh, sure. We'll talk about that in another episode. So here we are in transfer portal. It's chaos. It's mass chaos this year. 1,983 kids. It's an absolute mess. The bylaws need to be changed. The NCAA has to fix it. But once you bring lawyers in, guys, it's over. It's done. Once you get the states involved, once you get legislators involved, the legislators want to make themselves feel important. And my issue is, if you have legislators involved in the process, then wouldn't they want to use that to their advantage politically? I've helped my home team get players off the transfer portal by shaping legislation that forces the NCAA to allow kids to transfer whenever they want to. It could be done. Don't put it past them. That's a whole different topic for a whole other time. I have a lot more research to do on this, and I want to get back to you with more updates, but I think this has been pretty comprehensive. So if you're going to enter the transfer portal, if you're transferring as a kid, consider your options going forward. Consider the fact that you're going to have to give up your scholarship. Remember that. Think hard and long before you make the decision. And then understand that this is where we are right now. It's out of control. This year is the worst of all because of the injunction and the restrictions lifted by the NCAA. But what's going to stop someone else? I asked them that yesterday. What's going to stop them from someone else from suing down the road? So we can't discuss that. We don't. Yeah, I know. The lawyer is not going to discuss a what could happen, but it could. It could happen every year. You can't make laws stopping people from suing. People can sue for whatever they want to sue for. Now, the question is, will the courts hear it? All depends. All right. So that's the topic. That's transfer portal in a nutshell, in a long nutshell. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out in the comments. Follow us on Twitter at RecruitBoss, at the ProZoneShow. I am RecruitBoss at the ProZoneShow. Check us out on Facebook at ProDynamix TV. We'll have the links below. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Know your goal. Hey guys, thank you for watching the ProZone. Make sure you check back for more episodes. And if you haven't done so already, like, share, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss what we have coming up next.